Why, hello, and welcome back to another guide video for RiseToWar, my friends. And today, I want to talk about movements, how you move in the game. This will be for newer players and also people who maybe played and they haven't seen the updates, because we've gotten some updates with movements and how movement works in the game with your armies. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Again, if this helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, or if you just like fun Lord of the Rings content, you can check out my other stuff too on the channel. We do lots of Lord of the Rings stuff, positive, happy, fun. Do enjoy RiseToWar, but we also do lots of other things as well. So, you know, welcome if you just found me with this video. Sweet. So basically with movements, all right, you have your different commanding groups and setups. I have guides on how to set up your groups. We're not going to talk about that today. We're just going to talk about movements, okay, and how they work. So basically when you click on a tile, there's several options you can usually do. March is basically like just move to the tile. There's one caveat with that though. If you march to a tile that has an enemy generic AI army on it, which are these guys, okay? You can see them all over the map. You know they're not other players because they don't have a flag for a faction. They're just random ones. And no, we're not talking about the animal tiles. You can know the difference by if you click on them, you will see it'll say like Guardian, level 40 army on top. And then it says potential drops underneath there. That means it's an actual AI army that's just sitting on there, and it'll disappear, it says, in 10 hours and 31 minutes, okay? Those reset all the time. These animals are just a regular tile. It says it just gives food, level 18 basic army on it, okay? So the ones that say they're going to disappear after a while, have an image, and have a potential drop reward, those are like AI armies that'll actually be something you can complete for your tavern dailies, in case you didn't know. Your normal conflict ones, that's what those will be for. If you just want to take tiles to get resources, you'll have to fight the generic AI army on there that's just a level 18 with one army, right? Super simple for a level 660 tile. I have a guide video on that as well. But let's talk about the movement. So I'm going to march towards this one with my main army, and then I'm going to click check to march. You can see we have the battle difficulty there, a battle army of level 50. It'll take a minute and 15 seconds to get there. You can click this button actually to switch to the shortest route possible. Now, as we know, this is right next to me, so it is the shortest route possible. I don't know why it wouldn't automatically do that for you, but so switch to the recommended route, switch to the shortest route. I think the point is recommended routes usually try to aim for roads, where the shortest route might try to take you around somewhere that's a little spicy and you get an enemy player who stops you, because, we will explain that in a minute, you can now be stopped on the road and be attacked. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and launch, and he's going to go ahead and be traveling that way. I'm going to send another army to go and just move to this generic tile, okay? Just gonna move in there, and you can see, there we go. And now we have a couple options that then happens. And also, by the way, if you notice when I hover this one, it says occupy move, right? And this one is occupy move. If you just move to an occupy the tile with an enemy army over it, you will only have to fight the automatic army on the tile. You won't have to fight the level 40 Guardian group. So this is only a level 1 power tile, so you'd only fight level 1 power tile level, which is it's a level 1 commander. It's basically free. It's almost impossible to lose. So just keep that in mind. Those are the differences. So if you occupy, you won't have to fight the thing on top. It'll just take it and they'll disappear. If you move to it because you want to defeat them for potential rewards and finish your daily battle things for your tavern, you won't take the tile, you just move and sit on top of it after you do the battle with them. Or if, like this character, he just moved to that tile, and look at that, he didn't do anything. He didn't take the tile, he didn't battle anyone because there's no one on it. He could have occupied it, so I could now occupy that tile, right? And then click occupy. And he would actually fight the basic army on there and occupy it, okay? And as you can see now, there you can see some actual death animation of those other guys I killed, which is kind of cool. So now with Gimli and his men here, you can see he got to the tile and he had a battle because of that generic army, but he didn't take the tile. And you can know the difference because now the tile under me is green. I took this one just now. This one, I just moved to it and took the tile on the top. So you can see here, I did the battle with the level 40 armies, destroyed them because I have a very strong army there. And then you can see here, the level 1 tile when I occupied it, it was just a generic one guy with like no... It's easy to take the under tiles. But now I'm going to take this tile. So I'm going to occupy it now. All right. So now he's fighting the army that's built into protecting the tile. So you can see I had a second battle on that same tile. The locations are here. And it was just a generic one tile underneath, right? So there you go. You know that. So now with movements, now that you kind of know how to occupy those tiles with movements and stuff like that, let's just talk about generic movement here. Let's go move up to here. Not going to, so just moving. And let's talk about the buttons now here. So you get 2 buttons, all right? You get this button right here will actually stop you walking on the nearest tile, which is fantastic, right? So you can click this and it'll stop you at the nearest tile. Boop. Now, the problem, it's cool that you can stop your character, but if I move to the tile again, it is going to cost me more stamina to start moving again. So that is a downside to stopping, right? Because now instead of just 10 mana, I had to use 10 mana to get there, stop, and then use another 10 mana to get my men walking again. So you do have to think about the stamina with movement still, which I have another guide video, but keep that in mind. Now, another thing that can happen is if I was an enemy and I marched to this tile before he passed this tile and was sitting there, I would automatically intercept him and actually we would fight, okay? So that's something to keep in mind with the new movement systems. You can actually intercept other people traveling, all right? So if you don't want them to attack a certain tile, you can move an army along their pathway, which everyone can see the pathway, enemies and good guys. And then they could be intercepted. And usually what happens when you're intercepted is you get stopped, you have a combat, and if you die, you get sent back to your fort or your base if you're the loser. Or if you win, you stay there. You've now been intercepted, but you maybe killed his army. Now he's heading back home, but you now have to spend stamina to move again. So in theory, you could slow someone down and waste their stamina, even if you're a really weak army, just by forcing them to stop. So keep that in mind for PvP combat in this game. Nice little side note there. But again, another cool thing is I actually really like that whole new thing about the movement based system and how you can intercept armies and stuff. I think it's really cool. So now another thing that's cool is see these buttons over here on the left side. This is really important. I showed this in another video, but if you click these, you can actually choose who you're going to pick automatically as your first army when you do a march to a location or move or capture a tile. You could do it by how far the army is from the tile. You could do it by the sequence. So the distance would obviously be, if it's automatic move, distance would be he's the closest, all right? But if since I haven't, or actually, sorry, that's not on distance. So is it on distance? It is on distance, okay? So he's the closest. But if I try to take this tile with that same setting, he's the closest, right? But if I go try to take this tile over here, it's going to pick one of these guys, and it'll generically pick the strongest army that's closest. So it's picking my most powerful army that's closest, since they're all in the same spot, these 4 armies. You can see the 4 dots. These guys are all in the same location. Then you can do something called a sequence, which is kind of cool. And you can see this is, I believe, this is based on how you've created your armies in your army tab. So you can see here we have the sequence of army 1 through, you can have up to 8 when you're end game. Early, it's only like 1 or 2. So that means it'll always pick the army in the sequence. So if you say your first army is busy, he's occupied going somewhere, you can go, well, my second army is by Imrahil, so if I choose this, it's going to pick Imrahil. Okay, that's what that filter setting does. This one's by level. This will choose the highest levels. Now, it always does it who's not being used, okay? So if I want to march here, it would pick Gimli, because he's my highest levels. My second highest level group is Falcon. Right? So it's going to pick my Falcon to travel there. And again, it'll do it on the who's the next level, that kind of thing, right? And again, if it is, and this one makes sense for that, because it's by level, right? If they were all the same level, it'd probably choose it by combat power. If they were all in the same exact spot, the same level, like how strong your units are, how strong your gear is, kind of thing. So I'm sure there's a secondary subsidiary number they use. But that's irrelevant. You don't need to know. That's, who cares? So then you have performance, which means how strong your group is. Now, what's the difference between performance and level? You might ask me. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Gimli here. You can see that my levels of my characters are 41, 40, 40, 40. So these are pretty high. His power level right now is right here, his performance level. He's at 121.2. And they're missing some troops, so it's lower than usual. But if I go to like Falcon here, you can see 40, 40, 35, 34. He has less troops because they can't hold as many being lower level. And you can see his power level is 115. So when it comes to strength levels, if I was going to march, it's going to start with this setting. It's going to start with obviously my main group, Gimli. And then most likely next it will pick Falcon. And then it'll probably pick Immerhill because they have a strong group of units. Oh, look at that. And then I think from there it'll probably pick Gilgalad. Yeah. Okay, see, so, and I just know that because I kind of just in my head knew that these guys' power levels were that. So you can kind of see 103. So that's where those are the different movement settings, okay? And again, you could always just stop, right? You can't, I believe you can't sit on a road. And then if they're traveling and you click the back button here, just so you know, this will return you home. So this will always return you home. It's a lot faster to go back to your main base, which is great because you can automatically replenish your troops that way. Normally, if you replenish your troops on the road, like if you click this replenish button here, it'll actually cost you some stamina, but it will send you troops and you'll have to wait, but they'll march from your main base, some troops. So you can see some Dwarven Guardians here are coming to Gimli. So that's great, right? Very helpful. But then you also have the defense button. The defense button makes you defend a certain area. So you can see they just killed that. So if you click defense, a non-occupied land cannot be guarded. Oh yeah, I forgot. Let's use this thing. Let's see, I see defend this. Oh, too large. Okay. All right. So apparently you can't guard the large base. I forgot you can't do that. I knew that. So I have to go to a tile I own. So let me go ahead and just occupy this tile. So I'll take this real quick. And then I'm going to put him on defense. Okay. And then, boop, you'll see he goes into defense mode. His guys are like all stenced. And defense mode will hold a certain area of tiles, just so you know. So if I take a few other tiles here, let me go ahead and put my filter movement onto a different thing. Let's just do it on distance. So distance will still make me try to move him, but I don't want to move him because he's busy, right, guarding. So I'm going to try to use a different filter. I'm going to use by sequence. So I kind of know who is available or whatever. Right now, they're not available, so I can't move them. So let's go ahead and just move him there. Oh, actually, he's too far away. Let's not use him. Whoops. Maybe I shouldn't be using sequence. I just don't do that. If you don't know where your troops are. I'm like, what are they doing? Now, granted, you're like, well, how do you move stuff without it? You can always just click on the armies on the left side, right? So I'm going to use Gandalf. And then I'm going to use Gilgalad. So you can always do that too to switch. I just think the filters help make it a little bit nicer. Now another fun thing, so for example, if I wanted to launch someone to march to this fortress here, all right, so I have a fort over here I could march to, which I will send someone. I'm gonna send the Witch King to go to this fort. Now you can see here it's gonna take him 1 hour and 3 minutes. I can say switch the shortest route. The shortest route is the same amount of time, and it says right here something's blocking it, right? So I can click on view, 4 things are blocking it. So you can see we have this tile is blocking, we'd have to take that one. And this one's blocking, we'd have to take that one. So both of these are being blocked. And not just that, this would be our normal distance we could travel, okay? Before we get there. So if I wanted to actually move there, I should probably not use the shortest distance. I should use the recommended, which will probably avoid those tiles and follow the main road, which can't be taken by people, right? Now, granted, someone could stand an army on the road and block you, right? With the new movement system. They could have someone sit there, but they couldn't take the tile to block your army. Does that make sense? They'd have to sit someone on the road. So if I send him this way, you'll actually be able to see, this is the route it takes. So you can see it's actually cutting a route between these enemy tiles. It's going to follow this mountain. You can see I have an ally who's also moving this exact same route. The computer chose it. All right, so you can see here it used some of the roads, but there's not a lot. It runs past this fortress. All right, it goes through this tunnel, right? So tunnels are a big thing now. They're like crossings, right? You can't travel through unless you see it, and you can always click the little tunnel thing to go to the other side, which is this little circle to know where the other side is of the crossing or harbor or tunnel, right? And we can kind of see right here, it follows a road all the way down. It uses a crossing. Here's a crossing that we own. Here's another crossing we own. It uses that main road. And by the way, over time, you can actually build the roads up and construct the roads using things. It makes your units, I believe, move faster on the road from what I know. It's not really like a huge mechanic, but it definitely helps. So you can see here, it's using the recommended, it's using the road. You can see instead of using the shortest, it's trying to use the road, which is probably the safest, right? And you can see here, this guy is actually constructing road pieces, right? So I could probably send a guy to help construct the road as well. And you can say, how many tiles do you want to construct? And he'll go along and construct a bunch of tiles. Even another thing is doing that. That's just a side note. but I might help with that since I'm so close by. Might actually work on that. So again, you always get sometimes different like movement things. So I'll go ahead and say construct, and I'll use let's use Gandalf, and this will take 7 hours. It'll take some of my points, and I'll go ahead and add a bunch of his stamina, and they'll go and work on building more roads. And you can see sometimes it needs to load in, but these roads have already been built. Total length, you can see it's 96 tiles. That's side notes. This isn't important for movement as much. But now if I occupy these tiles, which I didn't occupy, I'm silly, you'll actually notice that the the arrow animation looks cool, doesn't it? There's a lot of new animations actually lately, which is really cool. They've updated these. These are just in the last like week of me making this video. But if you notice, these guys aren't on defense, but your character actually defends a 9x9 area of tiles if they're not a large single tile. And you can see he's defending all of these. These guys aren't in defense mode. They could be, but they're not. So if these leave, that you'll actually can see they're not defending these tiles. That is Falcon defending all of these tiles. So if you had a 9x9 area of tiles, if any of those got dropped on, moved onto, or occupied by an enemy army, he would fight them before they could take it. And then I could cancel with the red thing, and he'd stay in his spot. But the defense stance costs 10 to turn back on. There's no longer cooldown, which is cool. You used to have a cooldown, right? So you can see now they're not in defense mode. But let's say I do want to protect these tiles, and there's an enemy coming, and I don't want to move to it. Because to move to it, it would cost me, I believe it's 10 either way. But I'm going to just defend it because it's faster. I don't have to move. And now they're being defended. If someone attacked that tile, they'd have to fight my army. And then if my army lost, it would run off. And then they'd be able to occupy that tile and fight the normal AI army that defends it. So, whew, I think we covered a lot. I think we're good. I think we did it. There we go. Movement updates in Rise to War. I think it's very fun. It's a fun risk game. Game's not for everyone. I understand. But I think it's really fun. Thank you to my Patreons for their support. Thank you for watching the video and maybe subscribing if I earned it. Like the video. Haha. Leave a comment if you have a question. Glad to answer. Thank you, Reb, for being a Royal Guard. I appreciate that support. And guys, I have a link down there if you want to use it. If you are going to buy gems in this game, gives you some extra gems and also helps support my channel. And I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Baruch Azad, Kuzad, I'm in you. Stay happy and have a great, wonderful day in Middle-earth. See you in the next one.